Hello and welcome to my NTND marriage. Today I wanted to talk about meeting needs. There is some talk online about autistic people getting a bit offended, maybe miffed, that neurotypical partners complain about needs not being met. They seem to think that the neurotypical partners are attacking the aspies and being confronting and things like that. So I wanted to sort of explain to you, within the realms of my own experience, how that develops within the relationship. So to begin with, I moved in with him and I realised that some of my needs weren't being met. And at first I didn't actually see them as needs. I thought they were stock standard things that happened in a relationship. And it wasn't until the absence of them that I realised that they were needs, because all of a sudden there was this cold, empty void. And those things were things like conversation, affection, complimenting, being flirtatious, things that let you know that your partner likes you and builds connection. About 6 to 8 months after moving in to my husband's place, I had asked him straight out, "Do you think that I'm beautiful?" And he just stood there looking at me like, he's really tall, he's looking down at me, and he's just standing there, and I could see this inner struggle. He was wondering, do I tell her the truth or do I lie? And I'm not really good at lying, so yikes, what do I do? And I said, "Oh, you don't." And he just kind of shrugged and the conversation was left. And the reason I'd asked that was because he wasn't complimenting me. And I had this kind of feeling that he didn't really like me because he wasn't saying any sort of, endearing, like, "Hey honey, hey gorgeous." He wasn't telling me I looked good, if I dressed nicely. He wasn't saying anything of that nature as my neurotypical exes had done. And so I just started to wonder, does this guy even like me? So I straight up asked him that question, and I could have asked him any other thing, like pretty or attractive or good looking, but I just came out with that word because it was the thing that my previous ex had said that he thought I was. It was almost like moving in with a housemate instead of a lover. And I don't know if any neurodiverse people can understand that feeling as I say that, but I feel like the neurotypicals will understand exactly what I mean. Years and years later, he told me that the reason he just stood there not answering that question was because he thought it was a loaded question. He thought that I was asking because I had some sort of ulterior motive. And I said to him, to be honest, I don't really buy that. I don't believe it. I said, there's two choices. You either said yes, you think that I'm beautiful, and then I would have been happy. Or you said, no, you don't, and then I would have been sad. It would have not been loaded per se. It was really very fundamental. Do you find me attractive? But he was worried about answering that question truthfully. Now, I think it's because he didn't really class me as beautiful, maybe good looking, maybe something else, but not that. So I think it was his truth. Although there could be a part of him that just didn't know how to answer. If you're on the spectrum and that's what you think, let me know below. When I started raising issues about certain needs not being met, I would sort of say something along the lines of, "Hey, have you noticed we're not communicating or talking as much?" and things like that. Though mostly I would just instigate conversations, instigate flirting, instigate compliments and things like that, just trying to get him to reciprocate, and he didn't reciprocate. So that was kind of how I was trying to bring about needs being met, kind of trying to show him these are my needs by me meeting them with you, and then hopefully you would see that they're what I needed. and that wasn't quite working. So eventually I did have more sort of direct conversations about it and saying, hey, have you noticed, you're not complimenting me, what's that about? And then he would start saying things like, I'm not complimenting you because you're annoying. And that was his way of shutting down that need and essentially blaming me for the fact that my needs weren't being met. And I guess from his perspective, I was annoying because I was his first living girlfriend, and he didn't understand that there were going to be additional needs necessary. He thought that he would just be the same and have a girlfriend, go to work, come home, watch copious amounts of TV and go to bed. But with this added bonus of I expect sex at the end of the day because now I have a girlfriend. And so I think that was how he was expecting it to roll. And of course I come along and I want cuddles and affection and compliments and all of these extra things that he just wasn't used to giving. So from his perspective, I guess I was annoying in the sense that I would have been quite full on to him. And I'm sure if you're on the spectrum, that probably makes sense to you. One of the things that he did a lot though was tell me that I was the only one who felt that way, I'm the only woman who wants that, all men treat their partners this way, and things of that nature. It was this constant sort of rhetoric going on with him. So let's say we put the shoe on the other foot. My husband doesn't like cold food on the same plate as the hot food. So he doesn't like the salad on the same plate as the pasta. Okay? Now imagine he says to me, that's a particular need of mine, please don't do that. And instead of saying yes, I turn around and say, you're the only one who thinks that way, and therefore your need is irrelevant and I'm going to do it anyway. Illogical. Okay? Here's why it's illogical. I mean, you're obviously probably guessing why it's illogical, but roll with me. For one, I haven't met everybody else in the world, so how could I possibly know that he's the only one who thinks that way? And number two, even if he was the only one who thinks that way, this is his need he's expressing. It's a care of duty on my part as his partner to see if I can accommodate that need. If it's a need that I can accommodate, then I can do that need. And if it's a need I can't accommodate, then I don't do that need. Now, I can easily put the salad on the side. No dramas. But the point I'm making is, there's no point him telling me that I'm the only one who feels this way, therefore my needs are not worthy of being met. Because even if I was the only one who ever wanted compliments, conversation, foreplay, affection, which I know I'm not the only one to ever want that. But even if I was, I'm telling you these are the things that I want. Why can't you just do them? Instead of telling me that I'm too annoying and too irritating and too this and too that to meet them. Now, I understand him being on the spectrum means that meeting those needs are quite difficult for him. And it would have been certainly much easier if that's what he had said. Instead of saying you're the reason I'm not meeting your needs because you're annoying and a pain in the ass and you wear too much black and blah 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 blah, all the excuses he was giving me. It would have been nicer if he just turned around and said, I don't even know how to do that. I don't know where to start. Or something. But because of his Asperger's condition, he wouldn't have been able to find the words to have explained that anyway. The hardest part was that there was no talking it through. There was no compromise, no discussion, no trying to work out some sort of happy medium. It was just him wanting me to meet his needs without him having to meet mine. There was no resolving the issues because I couldn't even raise the issues. Anytime I raised the issues, I was just shut down, and therefore there was no progression and no moving forward and still no needs of mine being met. And this is the thing, my husband may not be a very typical Asperger's person. There might be numerous people out there, numerous neurodiverse people out there who do meet their partner's needs, who strive to meet their partner's needs, who want to meet their partner's needs, and maybe they're expressing that, hey, I can meet some of your needs and I can't meet the others. You know, this is great for you if that's how you roll. On the other side of that coin, there's a bunch of neurotypical partners whose neurodiverse partners are not trying to meet their needs. Now, that's not to say that all aspies suck and they're all ignorant and stupid and yada yada, because mine and a few others out there won't meet my needs. It's just saying, this is how it is for me. My partner doesn't meet my needs. And when I'm on forums and things like that and I'm reading other people saying the same thing, I can see that that person making that comment wants help. They want to know, how do I get my partner to understand that these needs are important? How do I get my partner to differentiate between the needs they can meet and the needs they can't meet? How can we have a discussion about this? Not all autistic and Asperger's people will have discussions with their partners. You ask any neurotypical person out there and there's a fair whack of them that will tell you that they can barely get a conversation out of their partner, let alone a resolution. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there, that some people on the spectrum are quite happy to meet needs, other people on the spectrum not so much. It might even be that, say, the later generations are the ones who don't want to meet the needs because they're still yet to understand their condition, whereas the ones growing up now, the youth of today who are growing up knowing that they have the condition, possibly researching their condition and knowing, you know, the ins and outs of their condition, maybe they're working relationships better and more healthier ways as opposed to the older generation. Speaking from my own experience and others whom I've spoken to personally, my husband doesn't research what it's like to have his condition. There's a lot of partners out there who refuse to admit that they have the condition. The stigma behind having it is so extreme that they refuse to even go there, let alone research, find out what's making them tick, how they could meet those needs because they're struggling with them and things like this. So there's different spectrums within the spectrum as well, because you've got people who are open about it, researching and learning, then you've got the other ones who are just like an ostrich with their head in the sand and they don't want to know. So again, I just put it out there that there are some that need help and there are some that are doing fine. And so when you see somebody on a forum saying my needs aren't being met, chances are they've tried all manner of different ways to get their partner to at least see that those needs are relevant, and they're not necessarily attacking all autistic people because their partner isn't doing what they want. They just want some help and assistance. So anytime that you see that, feel free to offer some help and assistance, because in many cases the neurotypicals are struggling to understand why it is that their needs aren't being met, and who better to give that response and that answer than the autistic people themselves. Anyway, if you have any comments, please drop a comment below. I would love to hear from you with regards to this particular topic. It's certainly one very close to home for me. And thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video.